Hello, this is our final group presentation showcase for CIT 348. For this showcase, we decided to do data analysis on Airbnbs in Columbus, Ohio. This presentation was made by Daytona Hunter, Maverick Peck, and Nick Walsh. For the project scope, the data set we have chosen to work with provides a very wide range of data with over 2,500 samples. All this project will be done using Google Sheets, Microsoft Excel, and Tableau to allow us to use very familiar tools that we already know how to use, on top of having a powerful tool such as Tableau for very good and powerful data visualizations. You can find more about the data we used in the link below. I will link this presentation as well. The project we decided to do specifically is studying Airbnb rental listings in Columbus, Ohio. We will be looking at information like rental pricing, rental reviews, and location to find patterns and correlations in the data. By examining these values, we can better understand the rental market, which would allow us to provide helpful suggestions for people using Airbnb in Columbus, whether they are hosts or guests. The data set used for this project is sourced from Inside Airbnb, which is a platform that provides publicly available Airbnb listings and Airbnb listing data. The data set includes values like listing ID, date, price, the minimum and maximum nights they're allowed to stay, the name of the listing, location, host metrics like reviews, the neighborhood it's in, and etc. There are a ton of different terms to memorize in this data set, including the ones listed below in that table. Most in the data set are completely unused, so they are not all listed here, but if you are interested, you can follow that link right there where it says Google Sheets. Some of the terms include the ID of the listing, the name of the listing, the neighborhood that it's in, the host ID, the host response time, which is how long it takes for the host to respond, the amount of bathrooms and bedrooms that are in the listing, and I think there's over 37 more. Some of the areas of analysis that we did in this project include how the capacity of the Airbnb affects the cost, how amenities and guest capacity impact the price of the reviews of the listings, finding a correlation between the host metrics and listing prices, and the correlation between the location of the Airbnb listings and the price of them. For our first analysis, we did how the capacity of the Airbnb affects the daily cost. The graph on the left contains a moderate positive correlation between the capacity of the Airbnb, which is the amount of people that can stay in it, and the cost of the listing on a scale of -1 to +1, -1 being a negative correlation and the +1 being a positive correlation. The correlation is 0.59 for this one, signifying that the more people that can stay at the Airbnb which means there are more people that can stay at the Airbnb. So there is a positive correlation between the amount of people that stay at the Airbnb and a higher cost. For the second analysis, we did how amenities impact the price and reviews of listings. The graph below shows the correlation between the amount of amenities and the daily cost of the listing. The previous graph shows a very weak correlation between the amount of amenities offered and the average review for each of the listings with the correlation being 0.17. This means that there is a very, very weak correlation that would most likely be chalked up to chance, and that there is hardly a correlation between the two factors at all. For analysis 3, we did the correlation between the host metrics and the listing price. The graph below shows a correlation between the host metrics, which is the reviews that the listing got, and the cost of the listing. You can see that there seems to be an anomaly for one-star reviewed B&Bs being the same cost or even more expensive than a lot of the 4-star listings. The correlation between the host metric and the listing price, the correlation coefficient of this analysis is 0.056. The overall correlation coefficient of this data shows an extremely weak coefficient, meaning, oddly enough, there is almost no correlation between the reviews of the listing and the cost, which is very, very odd. For our fourth analysis, we did the correlation between location and the cost per day in the Columbus area. When looking at the latitude and longitude of the listings, it is very obvious that there's a correlation between the location of the listing and the pricing. So this here is a heat map. This heat map shows each set of the coordinates for each listing. Based on the pricing legend at the bottom left, there's a very stark difference between the listing prices within central Columbus and the outskirts of the inner city. This other visual is just another visualization that shows the cost difference between central Columbus and the outer area for Airbnbs. The higher the price, the higher the bar, as you can see on the labels. The highest price is almost $1,300, $1,286, and the outskirts being all the way down to $32 a day. The most definitive factors that comes into play with the price of Airbnbs seems to be the location and the amount of people that can stay in the Airbnb, as shown in analysis 1 before, as the amenities section and the review section actually did not have much of a correlation of pricing whatsoever. So it seems as if it's mostly just location and the amount of people that can stay in it.